Hello, I'm back. I was sick last week, so I haven't made any videos in a while, but yeah, here I am, and I'm gonna talk about civic nationalism versus ethno-nationalism. This is something that has interested me for a long time, and now I felt like maybe I should make actually a video about it. So let's define the terms first. Like, civic nationalism is basically that if you're a civic nationalist, you believe that anybody who can adhere to the laws and rules of your country can be a citizen there, basically. And it's regardless of birth, ethnic origin, language, religion, and so forth. And this is, of course, I guess this is the mainstream view in the Western world nowadays, like what the mainstream media at least is promoting. But then there's the concept of ethno-nationalism, that is like what the alt-right and white nationalists believe. But it's, well, it is what they believe, but I don't think it's only that what they believe. I think that's basically what everybody has believed, ever since birth of nationalism, I suppose. And this civic nationalism thing is legally, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think that the laws of a country necessarily have to differentiate between different races. If you belong to this race, you can be a citizen, but not if you belong to this race, because especially since I think it gets a bit awkward, scientifically, to define what is one race and what is not another, but that's another thing. But yes, so civic nationalism, I think, is a very modern concept, and it's not really based in reality, because it's for me, let's say 10 years ago, I was more like a liberal lefty, and I thought that if you're some sort of Western nationalist, you are a racist or something. But on the other hand, I never had problems supporting nationalism in Japan or something. It's I was happy for the Japanese nationalists or Korean nationalists or whatever. But when it came to my country, or countries more similar to mine or closer to mine geographically, then it was it's sort of problem. But I think it's mostly because of how the media has dumped down the issue, and also because do you think that many genuine nationalists are happy to oblige and act like complete idiots, because it is sort of nationalism has become sort of a lowbrow thing. You cannot be academically educated like me and be a nationalist nowadays. That's what they tell you, but I'm academically educated and I'm a nationalist. And so there is a racial nationalist. This is even more blatant what ethno-nationalist means, and this is what a civic nationalist supports. But anyway, so yeah, it is if you talk about nations, it does I don't want to get into the etymology, but isn't it it comes from the word race, or a race of people forms a nation. That's how it works, and it shouldn't be some controversial thing, because I'm not alt-right or white nationalist or anything like that. I like to try to determine reality as it is to the best of my ability. And of course there is race, and of course there is nothing wrong with having a preference, or being most concerned about your own race. And of course, if you take it too far, and with some white nationalists, I see they wanna nuke Africa or whatever, that's insane. But like there's one thing, like, you wanna, take care of your own people, and then when you wanna attack other people, like there's a big difference there. That I don't think that every like ethno-nationalist understands the difference, but there is a significant difference. But anyway, so yeah, like I guess it all comes down like this question of, which is the correct one or the better choice or whatever, civic nationalism or ethno-nationalism. Like I once heard the question some time ago that, if a bunch of Indians, like let's say like a 60% of England would be, or 60%, 100%, whatever, like, it was, the population was replaced with Indians, but if they adhere to British values, would England still be England? And well, it's sort of like a catch-22 or trick question or something, because if you had that huge amount of Indians come to England, they wouldn't behave like English, and that's the trick, like, with civic nationalism basically. But I do think, like, if there are like 1% of England is full of Indian immigrants or something, I do think, like, even though they still will have their racial and cultural and possibly religious, like their own idiosyncrasies, I do think that they can fit in without like undermining the Englishness of England too much. But the problem nowadays, of course, is that we have this elite, that this communist, globalist, whatever, New World Order elite that hates ethnicity, especially European ethnicities, and they want to destroy it. And that's the problem. And it's not like that's what it all comes down to. It's not like we didn't have this problem, until a few decades ago, and this is because it has been done by, design to like attack European race and culture and whatnot. And it's not like some accidental thing, like, oh, look, we've let a few, Africans or Arabs or whatnot into our countries, and now suddenly we have this problem. It's not like, a few individuals, into the culture pool or the gene pool. I don't think they can do much to, do any, harm or benefit, basically. But when there is a concentrated political effort, that's a different thing. And I guess like this is one thing where I greatly disagree with the alt-right and white nationalists and so forth, because they are so like you have to have racial purity and stuff. Well, okay, if you want this, then you should first define what is, if you want to have like 100% white nation, define what is white. Because what I hear, like, basically it seems to be assumed that Germanic people or Anglo-Saxons or whatever, they are white. They are like the universal standard of whiteness. But then you have questions like, are Italians white, are Slavs or Russians white, are Finns white? And, of course, everybody knows we are the Fingal master race. But, I don't give a fuck really to compete in the whiteness Olympics. Like, I'm Finnish. I don't care to be white or not white. Like, whiteness is a social construct or a cultural construct. And I'm not saying this that, it means nothing. This is funny. It's better. It's sort of like shamanism or polytheism. They're like there are supposedly, or at least have been, all of these shamanic religions and cultures across different places in the world. they have like similar attributes to them, those religions, but they don't all adhere to the same doctrine or dogma or something. So it's just because they're similar. This is also why, you know, we have this concept of whiteness, like, you know, compared to Africans or Arabs or Chinese, certainly, like, you know, Germans and Italians, they're more similar to each other, and or like you know, Russians and Germans, but they're still different. And you know, just I don't know. I think this whiteness thing is like, if you take it to the extreme, that I do think some white nationalists are taking it, it's retarded. Like, there is nothing wrong with being proud of your race and wanting to preserve it, but recognize what is your race and what is this, you know, universalist concept of, you know, whiteness. So yeah, maybe I sound a bit like an SJW because I am like deconstructing whiteness, but it is like it is, you know, something that probably was coined in America, because in America there used to be all this, you know, the red Indians and the yellow Chinese coolies and black African slaves, and then the white European masters, and you know, but this is like this situation only basically exists in America. So I'm not American, so I don't give a fuck. But yeah, I do think that yeah, this is Indian American. See, they look okay. This looks like a tranny, but anyway, they look like you know, English enough. Like, you know, if you have a, you know, a bunch of Indians come into England, it's not like a big deal. But if you have like a ass loads, and I don't know what is like the percentage or the numbers, like when it's too much and when it's not, but like you know, I don't think we had a great problem with Muslims in Europe before 9/11, and it's not because of 9/11, the attack itself. It's because of what happened afterwards. Because, like, well, fuck, I don't believe that Muslims did 9/11 anyways, or if it did, they were paid by Israel or George Bush or whoever. But like, even if they did, like, it's the, you know, it's the same people who first then attack the Muslims and then start importing them to Europe. And this is why we have this great problem with, you know, mass immigration. It's not like and this is not, you know, this is not good reason to, like, you know, make some racially pure ethno-state. Like, okay, if you want to make a racially pure ethno-state somewhere, like, okay, first define your terms, like your laws. What actually, you know, what is white enough for your country and what not, what is not, and, you know, use some, you know, science to, like, because I'm not a biologist and I don't know how, you know, of course, like, there is a biological component to race, like, you know, you have to be a complete fucking educated liberal idiot not to, you know, see it. But still, like, it's so much more difficult when you actually want to, you know, define it scientifically, like, how does an Indian or an African differ racially from, you know, a white guy. Like, yeah, you can see it with your eyes, but, like, you know, what if somebody is like 1/4 Indian? Maybe they look much more white, and, you know, it's not so. Yeah, this is just here because I said, like, you know, Anglo-Saxon or Germanic, they're used as the, you know, universal standard of whiteness, and I don't mind, you know, but I don't care about this whiteness stuff. I care about ethno-nationalism. And this is, like, I do think this is something that, you know, more regular people like myself, because, okay, I'm a quote unquote race traitor because my wife is Asian, and I don't mean like as they say in England nowadays, like, you know, Pakistanis are Asian, like, no, East Asian. But I don't want to, like, replace the population of Finland with, like, you know, half or more than half East Asians, but I also don't think like, if my wife, who supports most of my values and stuff, I do think that she makes a better contribution to like Finland than the, even the average, liberal white woman. And it's not to, fuck. Now, people can say like, you're pitting them against each other, but like, yeah, this is one reason why I married a non-Western woman, because it's just much more difficult to find like, somebody who has some traditional common sense values. And yeah, it's, good luck to anybody who, wants to find a good white woman, quote unquote white woman. But yeah, but okay, I'm an ethno-nationalist, but I differ in my view in ethno-nationalism, that I'm not like a, I obviously don't support like 100% racial purity stuff, since I'm going against it. But like I don't, it doesn't mean that everybody should do what I did, or nobody should do what I did either. But it's just like it's not like I'm pretty sure like, just look at, okay, I'm Finnish, like we haven't been racially pure Finns for at least 1,000 years. We've been interbreeding with the Swedes and the Russians, more with the Swedes, I guess, at least here on the west coast. But yes, so I don't know, like I don't know where the degree goes, like when it's too far, like like okay, this is too far, if you want to say that they are, I don't know, French or whatever, these guys here, they're not. Yeah, but I don't know, like, yeah, it shouldn't be some, because now they're like talking about race is, it's as if like you have to be, because Hitler talked about race, so if you talk about race, you're Hitler. Like, it's not like that. And I also see this in people like Sargon of Akkad and all these so-called skeptics, because they're basically pussies and they don't want to talk about it. But I like to talk about it without any political bias, either a lefty liberal bias that most people have, or alt-right, like white is right bias either. And it's like and I think for people in the middle, basically the only socially acceptable way to deal with race is just to shut up and don't talk about it. And it pisses me off, because race is obviously, it's a thing that exists and we should talk about it. Okay?